So I got held at gunpoint back in April of 2024. It was 3 weeks after my birthday and it was one of the scariest experiences I have ever been through. It was on a Sunday. I was doing my daily routine. When nighttime kicked in, I started to get ready for work. I used to work at this shitty bakery job, but I don't work there anymore. I'm glad I quit that job because it made me very miserable. I worked night shifts from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Sometimes we would finish our shift early, so we got to go home way earlier than usual. Once my shift was over, I walked to my car, which wasn't very far away from my job. It was just on the corner of a little street. I get in my car and turn it on. When I see a gray car turn on the one-way street where my car was parked, and the car stops and 3 black guys dressed in all black tell me to get out of the car with guns pointed at me. They had guns with drum mags and lasers pointed at me, and they told me to give them everything that I had on me. And they also checked my pockets, they checked my front pockets, they checked my sweater, they checked everything. And they took everything that I had. They took my book bag, they took my phone, my wallet, headphones, and they also took a car charger from my car, which I found really funny. And at this moment, for the first time in my life, my fight or flight mode kicked in, and I was very scared, so I tried to run away, but they pulled me back and told me not to go anywhere. A random car behind us was driving on a one-way street and saw me getting robbed, so ended up turning left on the alley, so they just kind of ignored us. So after the car that was behind us saw me getting robbed, the black guys forced me to give my bank account information so they could take money out of the ATM. I gave it to them and they drove off. I ended up going back to my old job because they didn't steal my car or anything like that, and I told my boss what had happened. So she helped me lock my bank account, and she was talking to the customer service to lock my bank account while I called the police to tell them that I had gotten robbed. They ended up arriving 20 minutes later after everything had happened. I explained to them what happened and they filed a police report. And they told me that I need to carry the police report with me at all times while I was driving. Since they stole my wallet, I didn't have a license, I didn't have an ID, I didn't have anything on me. My boss helped me lock my bank account, so shout out to her for helping me out. She was one of the best bosses I ever had in my professional career. I told her thank you and I drove off. I was very angry, so I punched the dashboard of my car as hard as I could, and it fucked me up, man, because just knowing that my life could have ended in just a second, like not even a millisecond, I would have died, bro. Had, things didn't turn out the way they did. Even me, like, almost running away, it probably, maybe I would have gotten shot at or something. So who knows? But anyways, I went home and I drank a beer to calm down. Told my family what happened. They told me they were glad I wasn't hurt. I ended up calling off of work the next day because I was scared that they were gonna be there again or if something else was gonna happen. So I didn't end up going, which I found funny because it's like, why would the criminals go back to the scene of the crime, And on Tuesday, the police contacted me. They told me where I got robbed, and I told them it was around the corner of my job by the little street. But the cop was only checking the cameras at my job, and I told him that I had gotten robbed around the corner. So I told the cop that why doesn't he just check the cameras from the dentist where I got robbed, because there was a camera right there, like literally right in the corner where I got robbed. There was like a white camera right there, maybe like a Ring camera or something. And the cop just ended up checking the cameras around my job and this little weed dispensary that was right next to us. So I just ended up hanging up on the cop and I ignored him since, obviously he wasn't helping at all. Even though, we have so many fucking cameras around the big city that I live in. Like, come on, man. Like, there's no way. You can't get away with anything nowadays. It's not like back in like the 2000s or like the 90s where you can fucking, obviously kill someone or rob someone and there's really no evidence the police can use against, the person that you accuse or whatever. So either the police, either the cop that contacted me didn't want to do his job, or he was just being lazy, or he just didn't care because it wasn't a really big case, and the cops get a shit ton of cases every second. So like someone getting robbed and nothing, bad happened, it's kind of whatever to them. When there's like homicides, people selling drugs and shit like that. So yeah, but that was my experience getting robbed at gunpoint. What I learned from this experience was just to always be aware of your surroundings, and I just make sure that I don't ever have to work night shift again, just because it's really hard working night shift. Because when you work night shift, like, it's cool at first because you don't have to like wake up early, you don't have to be worried about traffic or anything like that. The only problem with like night shift is that, one, it fucks up your sleep. So pretty much like there were some days where I would come home like from a long ass shift. I would come like I don't know, maybe 5 a.m. and dude, I couldn't sleep till like fucking 10 a.m., 11 a.m. There was one time where I couldn't sleep till like I think 2 p.m. It was kind of fucked up, bro. It was almost like I was a zombie. It was like if I was a fucking vampire. Like I couldn't sleep at all till like almost 2 p.m., which was insane to me. And the third thing is that you're gonna run into a lot of crazy people, especially at night. Even driving home sometimes, like I would run into people who are drunk, or they're driving drunk, or just drunk people in general outside that were being annoying. But yeah, what I did want to say though was if any of you work night shift, or if any of you are just, you know, out there hanging out with people, just be careful, because you know there's obviously a lot of crazy people out there. People are getting robbed a lot, especially nowadays. Like it was common, you know, even 10 years ago, but I think now like a lot of people are getting robbed, especially at gunpoint. You know, that has been a really big issue in my city, and the city that I live in, it's one of the most quote unquote, you know, dangerous cities in the United States. But at one point it was actually, but it's still kind of like that, but not really. It depends where you mostly live and shit. Like if you live around, you know, the bad neighborhoods, then obviously you're gonna see a lot of, you know, homicides and stuff like that. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say, and peace out.